This will be the first video. It's a screenshot video that we'll be putting up for the crimes course. Just a few words about the video. If you're in my intro course and you've looked at the videos, you've already heard me say this, but I don't know if we have exact identity of students in both courses. So I use a program that gives me the ability to do videos in 15-minute increments. I then run it through YouTube and it ends up on Blackboard. I haven't figured out how to mess around with the numbering on the YouTube videos, but it needn't concern us because it's my job to put the videos in the right place on Blackboard, nor do you need to worry about the YouTube channel. What you need from the videos will be in the right place in Blackboard. So with that in mind, I don't know if, because I'm just starting, whether we're going to get one video for the two postings for the first 2 weeks, or whether I'm going to go into a second video. But let's begin with the first posting, which we've entitled Disposition in Criminal Cases and Classification of Offenses. And this material is a prelude, if you will, or a setup for us to understand how criminal cases are processed through the New York State court system, and then to a lesser extent how criminal cases are processed through the federal court system. But we can begin with a general observation that in all criminal cases, whether they're state criminal cases in the United States or federal criminal cases in the United States, that a criminal charge is going to end up in one of four different ways, or have four different outcomes. For some reason, the vocabulary of criminal law, an outcome is referred to as a disposition, and you'll hear that a lot, and that's why I've used it in the title. So I've listed the four possible dispositions. We can take a run through each one. Sometimes the defendant will stand trial, and if the defendant does stand trial, statistically it's quite likely that he or she will be found guilty after trial. So one outcome or disposition is found guilty after trial. Defendants in criminal cases have a right to a trial by jury. They usually exercise that right, and thus the guilty after trial comes by way of a verdict of guilty by a jury. However, a defendant can waive the right to a trial by jury and be tried simply by the judge. Sometimes that's called in federal court especially a bench trial, and where we have a judge rather than a jury, the judge then renders the verdict. But statistically, judge verdicts, like jury verdicts, usually come out guilty. The most common outcome is our second one, guilty by way of a plea of guilty. This is sometimes known as a plea bargain. And in this situation, a person is charged with a crime and does not stand trial, but agrees with the government, the prosecutor, to accept a plea of guilty. Usually, as implied by the term plea bargaining, there's a certain give and take, and the defendant is given something in return for the plea, typically the ability to plead guilty to a lesser charge. Possibly that's coupled with a sentencing commitment from the judge, and what the prosecution gets, of course, is a guilty verdict, not a verdict, excuse me, but an outcome of guilty rather than not guilty. So we have guilty by plea of guilt. We then have our third one, which is not guilty, and sometimes the defendant stands trial and is found not guilty. I know this this is a bit of a dated reference, but we are in Buffalo. So a famous or infamous criminal trial in our nation's history was in California, state of California versus O.J. Simpson, and the criminal trial, Mr. Simpson was found not guilty. We call that sometimes an acquittal. And then there's a fourth possible outcome, which we've got listed as dismissal of charges. Sometimes a judge will decide after the defendant's attorney applies to the judge that there's some fatal flaw in the charges which requires that the charges be dismissed. As I note, we'll consider grounds for dismissal at the end of the course, but here we go. I just wanted to swing this around. One possibility is dismissal due to insufficient evidence. Another legal ground would be dismissal based on a violation of the right to speedy trial. Now, when we look at the four outcomes or dispositions, we should be aware of the possibility that there could be an appeal, which would then possibly lead to a change of disposition in the case. And the point we make here is that in one instance there will not be a possibility of an appeal, and that's where the defendant has been found not guilty. And the jurisdiction in which the defendant has been found not guilty, and I have here example New York State, cannot retry the defendant for the same offense. And the reason for that is that in the Constitution's Fifth Amendment, there is a prohibition against double jeopardy. A person cannot, quote, twice be put in jeopardy. But the other three dispositions, however, can be appealed. So we have those four dispositions. Then we're going to focus on New York in this last piece of the first posting, because this again will contribute to the setup for the New York State court system, and this is classification of offenses. And in New York, we could classify criminal offenses into felony, the most serious, misdemeanor, less serious, and violation. And technically a violation is a criminal offense but not a crime. Felonies, as you may know, range from the most serious felonies like homicide, intentional homicide, A felonies, to the least serious E felony, least serious, which is E felonies, perhaps criminal possession of stolen property. And with this idea that the most serious are felonies, the less serious are misdemeanors, and the least serious are violations, we can begin to look at the New York State court system, which is where we'll be going next. I'm now switching our attention to the second posting, which I have up on the screen, which is the New York criminal court system, and then eventually how cases move through that system. But I want to just first identify the New York courts that are relevant to criminal cases. And in doing so, what we recognize is that there are some courts, and I have it up on the screen now, that aren't listed. And the reason they're not listed is because they don't handle criminal cases. And two examples would be family court and surrogates court. Surrogates court is where estate matters get resolved or processed. So if we take a look at the New York State criminal court system, and I'm going to go from the bottom up, we have at the lowest level, and that's not a disrespectful comment, just at the bottom of the ladder, so to speak, the city, town, and village courts, and we can call them local courts. And at this point, I'm going to say that we're not going to be concerned about the Long Island counties of Nassau and Suffolk, because they have a slightly different setup, and I'm just don't feel it's worth our time to work through it. So let's say outside of Long Island and in the rest of the state, we have cities, towns, and villages. And certainly every city has a city court. There's New York City Court. There's Buffalo City Court. The small city where I grew up, Geneva, New York, has a city court. And the way the state is organized, outside of Long Island and New York City, you live in either a city or a town. So I happen to live in the city of Buffalo. You may happen to live in the town of Amherst. So we have city courts, and then we have town courts. So we have the town of Amherst Court. Located in some towns is another smaller municipality known as a village. So, for example, in the town of Amherst, part of the geographical area is the village of Williamsville. In the town of Hamburg, part of the geographical area is the village of Hamburg. Some villages have village courts, and there is one, by way of example, in Williamsville, and some villages don't. For example, the last I looked, there's no village court for the village of Sloan, which is in the town of Cheektowaga. But we have at that lowest level city, town, and village courts. And again, we've called them local courts. As we go up the ladder, we have New York State Supreme Court and New York County Court. And we could call these two courts the superior courts. And outside of the 5 counties in New York, every county in New York has a county court. So there's the Erie County Court, there's the Niagara County Court. And State Supreme Court is located throughout the state. It's headquartered by county, so we could say State Supreme Court, Erie County, but in all parts of the state there's State Supreme Court. And again, we could call the State Supreme Court and county courts superior courts. And we have designated city, town, and village courts and State Supreme Court and county court as trial courts. That's not to say that criminal cases that go to those courts go to trial, but if there's going to be a trial, that's where the trials will be held. A little bit more of that later. Going up the ladder, we start to run into appellate courts. That's where appeals are taken. And our first appellate court that we meet would be the Appellate Division of State Supreme Court. And the way that works is that the state is divided geographically into 4 different judicial departments: 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th department. In Buffalo, we're in the 4th department, which, by the way, is headquartered in Rochester. And we could say that Appellate Division of State Supreme Court is an intermediate appellate court. I don't have that on the chart, but intermediate means that it's not the highest. And the highest court in New York, as we go up the ladder, is the New York Court of Appeals. And that is located in the state capital, Albany. There are 7 judges on the New York Court of Appeals, and sometimes the Court of Appeals is called the Court of Last Resort. At this point, I want to caution you, the states, the 50 different states, have different names for their highest court. We all know, of course, that the highest court in the land, or in the United States, is the U.S. Supreme Court. But notice in New York, we don't call our highest state court State Supreme Court. We call it the Court of Appeals. So be very careful that we know, you know, because I know, that the Court of Appeals is the highest court and not State Supreme Court. Okay, I'm going to end this video, and we'll do the rest of this posting in the next video.